Hello, Soul Spiralers. Welcome back to today's episode. Today, I'm here with the beautiful Nick Grivas. He is the creator and MC of Liquid Lyrics, which you'll learn what that is very soon. He is a Kahuna massage therapist, a whole food artisan, and an all-round elevated, open, and connected human, and a very integral part of our community here up in the Sunshine Coast. So thank you for coming on the podcast, Nick.
Thank you for having me. Oh, you get me all misty-eyed there.
Oh, yeah, we can be misty.
What a beautiful intro. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And I'm gonna be authentic and say this is not the first time we've sat here.
No, it's not the first time. Are you sure it's recording?
I'm gonna double check. Yeah, because the first time we're having a great conversation and I did not click record. So we're back here again in right timing.
How long ago was that? Do you remember?
Like 4 months ago.
Wow, it's been taking 4 months for us to get back in this room.
I think that's good though.
That's good. Yeah.
It's going to be all nice and fresh.
And yeah, well, it's kind of like the timing of it's really cool too, because I just had the Liquid Lyrics final, so that's all wrapped up for the year.
Yeah, and you just finished your...
And I just finished my Kahuna level 4 and 5 training as well.
It's all happening. Yeah. Well, I'd love for you to share your story as to how you came upon Liquid Lyrics and even how you came upon Kahuna, if it fits in. Yeah. And I know you've got some other little good flavors.
I do. Spices. I can
some spices.
Pull out of my spice rack.
Cinnamon and cranberry mix.
Oh, that's right. You guys, you took on home.
Yeah, we had some of your granola.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Do you sell only on the Sunshine Coast or is it all the way around?
No, I hardly sell on the Sunshine Coast.
Oh, really?
It's mostly sold
online.
No, I sell it. So I don't really sell the retail packets that I give away at Liquid Lyrics as the prizes.
Yeah, so it's all
which
wholesale.
We'll get to that.
Bulk.
It's wholesale bulk in the Source Bulk Foods and Naked Bulk Foods. So a lot of the bulk food stores throughout Australia. So I was doing retail, but then I just shifted into the niche of doing bulk.
Yeah.
One, it's way less packaging, way less work. It's just easier to ship around and it goes to Singapore as well. So it goes all the way to Singapore too.
So cool. So if people want to try a granola, you can go into the Source or
bulk
to Naked.
Foods. Yeah, or Naked bulk foods. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So the whole food artisan line that you came through with before is the actual was the retail branding.
Yeah.
Whole food artisan and all the different flavors that came along with that.
Which is you.
Yeah. Which is me. Yeah. It's one aspect, one facet of me.
Yes.
But Liquid Lyrics, that still, oh wow, that's been such a journey.
It's your baby.
It's my baby, but it's been such a journey. I don't want to call it my baby because sometimes I've wanted to like stop doing it, and you can't just stop doing a baby.
I mean, I'm sure there are times that you're like, I want someone to babysit my kids right now.
That's what it is. I love that. Yeah. Well, that's probably what prompted me to start having co-MCs because I would just MC the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just want to like let go a little bit and also be able to be present and enjoy. So as the creator and MC, when I'm on, it's very hard for me to drop into listening to the poets because I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to do next? What am I going to say to that? Or who's next? Or how's the time going? So many things going through my head that it's very hard for me to fully drop in with the poets. So in the second half of Liquid Lyrics, I allow a co-MC to come through and then I can just fully enjoy it and sit down and be present as well.
Amazing.
And also gives it a bit of different flavor as well.
Definitely. It's always fun.
Yeah.
So tell us what Liquid Lyrics is if someone doesn't know.
Of course. Liquid Lyrics is a monthly spoken word event that has been running on the Sunshine Coast now for coming into its third year next year.
Woo-hoo.
Third year? Yeah, well, we just had the third final, so it'll be coming into its fourth year actually. Cool. So started that probably 3 or 4 months after I moved to the Sunshine Coast. I moved to the Sunshine Coast, I think it was 2019, February 2019. Maybe February, I can't remember. Anyway,
it's all right.
Doesn't matter. I had the idea for Liquid Lyrics when I first started doing spoken word poetry back in 2010.
Yeah.
And that's when I discovered it. That was a thing. I've been writing poetry for quite a long time before that. Particularly started in high school when I started writing rap because I was really interested in hip hop and rap, and lyrics were a big thing for me. Like I was always really attracted to lyrics in a song.
Me too.
And strong lyrical content.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing then. And so I'd just been writing poetry and like making my friends and family sit down and like, this is my new poem. You know, forcing them to sit down. Like, and then I discovered there's spoken word poetry. It's like, well, people actually come and they want to hear it and they're there for that. And so I entered the 2010 Australian Poetry Slam competition, which was a national competition. And the finalists from each state then went to Sydney Theatre Company to perform on that stage, which the night before Kate Blanchett was performing on that same stage. It was still all set up. So I made it through the heats, made it to the Queensland final and came second in the Queensland final, and then went to Sydney. All expenses paid. Like, it was just, I was like, poetry can do this.
Yeah.
Then the following year, then I was contracted by the State Library of Queensland to run the Queensland heats. So all the way to Cairns, Brisbane, Gold Coast. So I did that. And then felt there was something missing in the poetry scene. I felt it was quite cliquey and quite hipster, and didn't feel there was like, it was in Brisbane City, and it didn't feel like there was a lot of heart to it.
Yeah.
And like the style of poetry that I was writing was like, you know, very emotional and, you know, dealing with relationships and love. And that's mainly what I write about. And I wanted to start my own thing. And so I had the idea of doing it either in a cafe or restaurant that was on the Brisbane River somewhere. Hence Liquid Lyrics. Plus I love alliteration. So I actually thought of the name Liquid Lyrics 10 years ago, didn't do anything with it. And it wasn't until I came to the sunny coast and was living in Coolum, one street back from the beach.
Yeah.
Walked past a cafe called Foxy's, walked in and went, hey, mate, this would be a great place for a poetry slam. Walked in, had a chat to her. She's going, before I could even finish, she said, yes, let's do it. And booked in a date in that moment. And 1 month later, I was running my first Liquid Lyrics poetry slam, and I was shitting myself.
You're like, I have to do it now.
I have to do it now. I was just like, bang, and I love when things flow like that.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Me,
they just fall into place like that. It's totally so true.
It's a line. It's like, yes, this is where I'm meant to be. And I remember the first one, I think I had 35 people there, and this is before we were doing pre-sales online. So I had no idea who was going to come, whether I was getting enough poets. I had a feature artist. That's one thing we do at Liquid Lyrics. We always have a feature artist halfway through, just to break it up. Like, so we give it a bit of music, a bit of vibrancy, a bit artsy, and it just breaks up because it's just 2 or 3 hours straight poetry can be a bit much for the audience. So always have something to break it up. And so I was there at the front door, like a 16-year-old kid, just invited a bunch of people to their birthday, and he didn't know whether they were going to come. That's literally how I felt.
You're like that every time anyway.
I'm like that every time. Nothing has changed. I'm just more conscious and aware of it now. But at least now I have pre-sales, so I have some idea.
Yeah.
But then people buy their tickets last minute anyway.
Yeah.
That's what we do these days. But it was a huge success. And I didn't have a theme for the first one, but I have themes. I started creating themes, and poets can either choose to follow that theme or they can just do whatever they want. But the themes I found really make it for me, because generally whatever theme I've got for that month is what I will start embodying. It'll start to show up in areas of my life. It's really interesting how that works.
Yeah, I really notice that even with my women's circles. But I guess I do mine also around like astrology and the moon. Right. And I always theme them as well.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. And it's always like things that are coming up for me that I've like put into place. And I'm like, okay, now let's embody this here. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it, isn't it?
Definitely.
And mix it up a little bit.
And like constantly asking yourself to grow as well.
Yeah. I'm so literally, like, we had the final for the year Saturday just gone, which was an absolute success. I think it was the best one.
Oh, I'm so I
say that every time.
I missed it. You're just trying to rub it in, aren't you?
I am trying to.
I was in Cairns and had a trip booked, so I was sad, but I was watching everyone. When I had reception, I was like, I want to see the stories.
You watched some of them?
No, I had no phone reception. Yeah. I was at a friend's birthday that day anyway. But
well, it's all online now. It's in the videos section of Liquid Lyrics page on Facebook.
So people can watch the
live stream, the recording of the live stream, and it was really well done. The boys at the Space Between, the Vanderbilt boys, just did an incredible job. Like, we're talking multiple camera angles.
Wow.
The live stream, and really high quality. Sound is incredible. It was, not only were the poets so amazing, like the quality and the caliber of the performances, but the feature artists, I had DJ Sejin, who does Sunshine Coast Ecstatic Dance, Sunset Synergy,
He's on SoundCloud if you want to look for
He's
him.
on SoundCloud. Check him out if you like world
It's
kind of
really good.
like DJ beats.
Etheric,
It's
housey,
it's
dance.
It's like world deep house. I would say.
Yeah, like that deep kind of techno. Yeah,
love it.
So good.
Because I only had a 45-minute set, so we only have a half-hour break for people to mingle. But I was like, I'm gonna have a DJ as part of the break.
I love that.
I didn't know whether it was gonna work. I'm like, well, people dance to it. I don't know what the vibe's gonna be like. We had 110 people, and almost every one of them was up dancing.
That's so good.
Like, I couldn't believe it. The energy in the room and the vibration. And he played, I swear, every single track that I love.
Yeah.
It's like, you got me. And we had Manoa come in as well. Check him out on Spotify. And he was doing live music, like flute and guitar. And then you had Damo come in. I didn't expect any of this. I just thought it was going to be a DJ and like Manoa just doing.
You just kind of like, book you and then free reign.
This is the thing.
That's sort of the way
I love about
fly
this.
by the seat of your pants a little bit.
Totally. I love the creative community. And you never know what you're going to get at Liquid Lyrics. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's like, you don't know what's going to be created. And the energy and vibration of like DJ Sejin and then Manoa coming in after that with Caroline and then Damo on the drums was I was just blown away at the caliber and quality of performers that I have had for feature artists throughout the years. Good. Like it's world class. And these people just come and do it because they love it, you know, like I don't have a big budget, so I can't pay them a lot, but they're just so grateful and appreciative. So
you're creating magical things.
Yeah.
And a beautiful space for people to be able to come and express. And that's what it's so wonderful to witness. I know that's something you love is like when someone hasn't even done spoken word poetry before and they get up and do it and give it a go. And there's a real safe space for that, I feel.
Totally. Like your man.
Yeah, my man getting up. Oh my God, I was crying the whole entire time.
It was so beautiful.
I'll cry now thinking about it.
So beautiful.
You know, and it just hits home to be able to like speak to those things that are so emotional. And so, Alex did a beautiful poem about his dad and the experience of Alzheimer's and all those sorts of big things that you have ways to express and share like how it feels for you. It's really powerful.
Yeah. And look, so much growth comes from that healing and growth and just like, even if it's not a profound piece of poetry, if you're getting up and speaking in front of a crowd of people and you've never done that before, the growth and leveling up that just comes from that act alone, because, you know, public speaking is the second greatest fear
of exactly.
Next to death.
Wow.
It's like, so when I see people who say, I would never do that, you know, and they just keep coming, and then you can see the ones that are like, oh no, I really want to do this, but I'm just too scared. And so creating that space, and I'm always stepping into my vulnerability. Like Liquid Lyrics the other night, I had all the themes from the year like written on pieces of paper in a jar. Yeah. And one of them I also put on freestyle, and one I put newest poem. Yeah. And I'm shaking, and I was trembling. Yeah. Like, I know. I said to everyone, there's like a freestyle one in here, and I'm like, I hope I don't get that because I do freestyle. And then but then the whole crowd started going freestyle, clapping. I'm like, I had no choice but to get up there and do a freestyle piece, and it was actually perfect because I knew the poets were super nervous, and so I started off by saying, my heart is beating out of my chest like all of the poets' hearts combined right now. Yeah. That's how nervous and vulnerable I felt. And I don't get to experience that very often because I do it so much now. So for me, getting on stage is like not even a thing. I barely even think about it until I'm there. The first half hour, I'm usually like finding my feet and finding my flow. Creating that space for people to step into their vulnerability and feel safe to express. You know, they might come 1, 2, 3 times, but by then they realize, oh, I'm okay here. Yeah. You know, doesn't matter what you do up there, people will love you and will support you. Yeah. And that for me has been the greatest gift that I get back. People always thanking me, oh, you've created this space, you've done all this stuff. It's like, I'm just holding space. Yeah. And I've realized that's really that is kind of my superpower, vulnerability and holding space. Yeah. And I didn't know holding space was one of them, but when I think about what I've done and just my personal interactions and relationships with people, and then people pointing out, it's like the way you hold space is one of your greatest gifts.
Definitely.
And that's all I'm doing. And everything
Yeah.
else, just the magic is created in that space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you usually say to someone if they were like, oh, I want to go up and do it, but I'm like too scared, or I don't really know how to like even start writing what I want to express to get out of me? What sort of tips do you give people?
Well, that's a two-part
There's
thing.
two questions.
So if they haven't written and I think they can't write, I saw this great American performance poet tour in Australia, and he did a workshop, and one of the things he says to people, and they go, oh, I don't know anything to write about. I don't know what to write about. And he said it so beautifully. He goes, well, I wash 13 palms off my hands every day at the end of the day.
Wow.
But the potency in that metaphor is anything. Like, I could write a poem about this room and what's in this room.
Yeah.
Maybe all the little bits and pieces start talking to each other. Like, it's personally, I try and encourage people to write about stories of their life.
Yeah.
Something that happened to their life. I think when you're writing something that's relatable and it's personal to you, it impacts the audience in a different way. Like, I've seen poets write about things that they're not connected to, and it's just, you lose the people.
Yeah.
So I would say, just first of all, there's different like exercises you can do. Writing exercises like free flow writing. So don't put the pen down. Don't let the critic come in. Just write and just see what comes out. You can do that for 5 minutes, and you might find one line that could be the start of your piece. And for me, it's the starting line or the starting few lines dictates the quality of the piece.
Yeah, that's like where the impact begins.
Totally.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll start and I'll have one line, and it's like, I cannot do the second line. It's just not happening. So I just let it go.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So that would be the first thing. It's like, well, you don't know if you want to be a painter, just paint. Doesn't matter how good it is. If you're painting, then you're a painter.
Yeah.
Want to be a writer, just write.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how good or bad it is. If you're writing, then if you're doing it, then you're a poet.
Yeah.
So that's that part, the writing part. And there's so many other different techniques. Like, just maybe like your favorite book, just that's the first line, or start off with a quote and just follow on from that.
Yeah.
Or look at a picture and go, okay, I'm gonna write about this picture.
Yeah.
There's so many. For me, nature is a massive inspiration for me. Like, if you look at a lot of my poetry, so I've just realized most of my metaphors are nature-related metaphors.
Yeah.
Because that's what we are. So
definitely.
Yeah. So the performance part, if you've got something and you're going to get up in front of somebody now or in front of a crowd, there's a few tips that I give the poets. One is like, anchor in to your breath, unlock your knees, and find 2 or 3 anchors in the crowd. I noticed the other day when Ben comes to a poetry slam, he's my anchor.
Yeah.
He must sit in a particular spot in the room where it's like my eyes just go straight to him, and I'm looking at him and I feel grounded.
Yeah.
So just find someone in the crowd to do that with.
Yeah.
And make sure that your lines land on those sets of eyes, like the really potent, powerful ones. And also, I've done a visualization where I just visualize me having completed it. Yeah. I've just done it. I've just done the poem. I'm sitting down. How do I feel? How does it, like, how alive do I feel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
But embrace the nervousness, embrace the excitement of it, embrace the newness of it.
Yeah. Because you'll never get to be that new to it ever again.
No. And I say to people, it's like the first time you ever perform, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
Like when I hug people after they've come off stage for the first time and their hearts are beating like little hummingbirds, the aliveness that I feel, and you're alive, like do something that scares the shit out of you regularly.
Yes.
I think that's one of the most important ways to grow.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Such good tips. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, pleasure.
I want to go back to the writing because
Sure.
I know there are some other tips that you had around different types of poetry and different types of the ways that you describe things in your writing or in your expression. Yeah. Would you be able to elaborate on where I'm going with that?
So lots of people will first of all start with the rhyming thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Lots of people, when they think of poetry or they're writing poetry, they think it has to rhyme. And that's definitely not the case at all. some of the best pieces I've written weren't rhyming or had very little rhyme in them, but they still had rhythm.
Yeah.
And that I think comes from just doing it a lot.
Do you think that people tend to rhyme because it helps them find a rhythm? Whereas
totally, that's why I do it.
Yeah.
And if I want to memorize my poem, rhyming is a much easier way to do it.
Yeah.
But there's also ways of like linking one stanza to the next by one particular word. Like you can find a link to everything somehow. And that's how I memorize. But in terms of writing, so rhyming schemes is a big thing as well. So a lot of people do your basic A-B rhyme scheme, which is okay, but can usually lose people. So you want to break that up, I really think.
So what is that?
Basic rhyme scheme is like, I had a cat and it sat on a mat.
Yeah.
It was blue. That's true. So A, B. So A rhymes with B and then A rhymes with B again. And it keeps going. I try and encourage people to break that. Yeah. So there's different types of rhymes. So I will use a lot of internal rhymes or linking rhymes. So an internal rhyme is when I feel like I need to get my phone out.
You can. I said you should read us a poem.
I definitely will. Yeah, I can do that for sure. I just need to find one that's got some internal rhymes in it. Okay, this is one I did for the Vandera Boys, one of their tracks called Higher. So let's raise it up higher. Let our desire for growth fuel the fire in our hot air balloons. If you want coconuts, you got to shoot for the moon. So that's basic rhyme scheme there, but let's raise it up higher. Let our desire. So that's internal rhymes.
Yeah.
So that's like rhymes within the actual structure of the rhyme.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Definitely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense.
And then breaking that. So like, oh yeah, we live in the high life, bringing the right vibes, sharing our soul's light. This is our time to shine bright. There's a bunch. So that's 4 rhymes of all the same thing and internal rhymes. So bringing the right vibes. That's an internal rhyme. Sharing our soul's light. This is our time to shine bright. There's 3 rhymes in that one, which gives it this beautiful flow.
Yeah.
So I really think that's important.
Yeah,
that's
I like that.
Linking rhymes is like when the last word of a sentence
matches the next.
So the next word will be, so if I say, I like the look of this book, took me to another place. So book and took are linking those two. I use that a lot.
I like that.
Yeah. And that's really beautiful for fun. You can do that without rhyming your end, not without doing end rhymes.
Yeah, because it creates the linking without needing.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, with the rhythm, I mean.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So just trying to think what other little techniques. There's so many techniques. I just don't have them all on the top of my head right now. But metaphors.
Yeah. Really
strong metaphors. And metaphors can be found just by looking around. Like I can create a metaphor almost out of everything. Like I'm looking at that crystal singing bowl just there. No, I'm not going to freestyle. No, don't do it to me. It's too hard. Yeah, like her voice rings on like the vibration of a singing bowl.
Yeah. It's like creating a picture with the words.
This is okay. Thank you. That leads me on to concrete versus abstract language.
Yes, I remember this.
Remember this, yeah. Which I think is probably one of the most important things if you want to engage your audience. And if you're not, if you haven't memorized your poem and you don't have a lot of performance behind it, you can do like, and I'll explain what abstract and concrete language is in a minute, but you can do a whole poem with abstract language, performing it. If your performance is really strong, you can hold the audience's attention. But if you were not memorizing, which a lot of people don't, and reading it, because you're basically going to lose people.
Yeah, you've got to think of it like they've got their eyes closed almost because you're not making eye contact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And abstract language is great for written page poetry when you're reading it. That's okay. If someone else is reading your poetry, that's good. So the difference between abstract and concrete language. Abstract language is language that you can't actually hold a mental picture of like there's no physical representation of it. So love as a word is an abstract word. We can't actually see, well, what does it look like? Can you tell me? Can you point it? It's what is it? What is it? So to convey what love is, we need to use, well, my love is like a blooming rose, or her love was like sand trickling through my fingers. Gives you an idea of what kind of love that was.
Yeah.
So that's concrete. So concrete language is basically taking something from the physical world and putting it into that metaphor. And what that does for the listener, the brain can easily catch on to images like that. It creates a mental picture in your listener's mind, which, you know, I've had lines from poems that have stuck with me for years. They just come back. It's like, oh yeah, that image, or I might see that thing in the real world and go, oh yeah, I remember that line from that poem.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's concrete and abstract language. Concrete's really important, I think. It's probably one of the most important things a spoken word artist can master.
Definitely. That's my mind like goes, wow. I'm like, oh yeah, that inspires me to like want to write. And even like within my own, you know, like your own journaling practice, like practicing that. I kind of like that aspect. Yeah.
Me too.
Really beautiful.
Yeah. But my advice is just doesn't matter. Yeah. Like you know, like even though Liquid Lyrics is a competition, the competition is kind of like a joke. It's a container for expression. That is the most important thing. Doesn't matter how good you are. Doesn't matter what you're writing about. It's just the act of creative expression. Definitely. That is the most potent part of everything that I do in Liquid Lyrics and what people bring. Yeah. People were so self-critical. Yeah. And I do that too. I'm the same. It's like we'll sit down and write something. I don't know if it's good. I've had so many people come to me and go, I don't know if this is good enough. I'm like, did you write it? Are you going to perform it? If you are, and if you wrote it and you're performing it, it's good enough. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Yeah. That's all that's required.
Comparison is a nasty little.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
It is. Oh my gosh.
That tattoo.
Yeah. So true. Yeah. I think it's so easy to kind of compare ourselves in the world that we live in, and we're constantly wanting validation for our own experience, and then we use comparison to try and find that, and then it never finds a grateful ending, let's say.
And look, I mean, it's I guess it's part of our learning as humans. Like we kind of do that to a degree, probably most of our lives, and maybe it lessens as we go on, you know, as time goes on. But, you know, people come up to me and it's like, you're so good. I'm never going to be as good. It's like, I've been doing this for like 15 years. Yeah. Like when I get people coming into the granolery and help me, it's like, oh, you're so fast. Like, how are you so fast? It's like, well, if you do the same thing for 13 years, you're going to get good at it too. It's like there's a level of confidence that comes from doing something over and over. So you want to be a great spoken word artist, just keep writing and keep performing. It's like comedians when they first get on stage, they're not going to be like funny. They're going to probably bomb the first 10 times. Just keep coming back.
Yeah. It's like anything, isn't it? And it's just that sometimes it's the expression when we having other people witness that, we feel like it's a bigger deal rather than us doing the thing over and over again in our own bedroom or whatever it is. Totally. Yeah, totally. So true. Yeah. How do you think the social and like so let's say the internet world, like, you know, now you're streaming Liquid Lyrics and like, you know, we can watch it from anywhere in a sense. How do you think that's going to allow the slam poetry world or the poetry world to spoken word to expand and become, what do you think it's going to become in the future?
NFTs probably.
Yeah, I can see it.
My friend Jade today.
She's so into the NFT.
Can I make my poetry as an NFT? She goes, yeah, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, oh, cool. That's cool.
So interesting.
I'm so torn. In this space, because I'm I find myself to be a very earthy, tactile, in-person type person, and I've done spoken word, you know, on different forums online, and for me, so much of the joy that comes from what I do is getting the instant feedback from the audience, looking at the expressions on their faces, just feeling the energy. I find that some of that is lost on a screen. Maybe a lot of it is lost. Yeah, so the streaming thing is a new thing because I had streamed before, but it wasn't very good quality. So now I'm streaming it, potentially may allow poets to come in through Skype. Still got to talk to the boys about how that works and how hard that is to do, because I was going to get you guys, I was going to get Alex to do it and Jade, but I was like, there's too much going on. I've been away for 2 weeks. I can't do it this time, but I will create it as an online paid event as well. So, and potentially may have online liquid lyrics, strictly online liquid lyrics poetry slams, just for people all around the country to get on and do their thing. Because through the hardest parts of COVID lockdowns, it's another poetry event called Bunker Spoken Word, and they just did all their stuff online. Yeah, and that's where I participated. I don't know. I still feel like spoken word is one of the oldest creative expressions. I mean, the Greeks were doing spoken word before they were writing it. It was all just memorized and written in their heads, and then they would speak it. There is a space for it.
Yeah.
But I feel for me, I will always be doing live audience.
I get it.
It's just too important to me.
It makes sense to me. And I feel, someone said to me not that long ago, that the power in our future is having community, whether that's online or offline. But I do think that there's a different energy online versus offline. And like I stepped into that online world doing even women's circles online for a period of time and all that sort of stuff when we were in the lockdowns. But I just came back to that physical thing. I don't know. I'm in a physical body and I love that physicality. I am, we're both air signs, we love that sort of intellectual, sort of techie kind of things in ways. But then like for something to be fully landed for me, I really love that interaction of in person. It's funny, today I was even going to ask you if you wanted to do this over Zoom because we've been finding so hard to meet up. But then I was like, oh no, I'm actually really glad you're coming, because doing this in person, it's just, it's so much. It's like you have to adjust your language and adjust yourself to do things online, which is fine. We're going to be probably creating new forms of language and forms of body language and expression by doing things online more and more and more, as I think they already have done. But in person, there's almost like an ability to just be you, because our generation haven't like embodied that in a sense. Does that make sense? Like, whereas like the next generations, they've already grown up online. And so to them, it's going to be second nature, but we're still that in between.
I mean, I'm definitely in the between. Like, geez, I mean, I was around when Commodore 64 computers were around, and it like takes half an hour to load. Like,
we had I had a DOS computer growing up. With like 1-2 games on it. One of them was like a Prince of Persia game or something.
Yeah, exactly.
There was like the one game.
Yeah.
And then growing up like with the big heavy computers and playing The Sims and all that stuff anyway.
But look, I mean, I think what the metaverse is going to provide is like a bridge between those, like the 2D, I guess, online worlds. Because I have a VR headset, so I'm like ahead of the game from everybody.
I have some interesting thoughts about VR.
Yeah. Tell me. This is where like the metaverse is going. So, people are doing concerts. So I can imagine at some stage there'll be like, it will still feel like an audience.
Definitely.
Because if you have like really high quality avatars, I think in 10 years, our avatars in the digital world will be so good. Like they'll be so good at picking up all our facial expressions that it'll almost be as real. So I don't know what the feedback will be like if I'm hosting a slam in the virtual world, and it will feel real. It will feel real.
Like if we think about how far technology has come in the last 50 years, like it's kind of crazy to think in comparison to the previous 50 years. So if we put that into the next 50 years, like think about where we're even going to be in 20 years. And like I fully think that there's going to be a level of us living in VR world. And I actually think that's part of what's going to save the planet, because we won't be putting so much pressure on our day-to-day in the way that we live, which will mean that the earth actually has some space to breathe again.
I never looked at it from that perspective, but that's
I think
really
it's Terence McKenna talks about like one of his psilocybin trips. He talks about like nirvana, like humans living in nirvana, like the most beautiful, idyllic, like paradise world, but then they live in VR. But because they live in VR, the earth and the world around them is like the most beautiful like it has ever been, because they're not putting that undue pressure. And I really kind of resonate with that description. I don't know if it'll come to that degree, but I definitely think that it could help.
Who knows?
It's like, because we're trying to reverse all this stuff that we've had done to the earth.
Totally. Yeah.
It's going to take something crazy like that to happen for it to actually be the case.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like we can go down this rabbit hole, but at the same time, we are waking up through different levels of consciousness on the way that the planet's shifting and then how we're all waking up.
Yeah.
So that teamed with that, whoa, it's like mind blowing to think of what it could be.
I think we can theorize of what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
But,
We'll
like
never
50
be
years ago, like what they were predicting it would be like, it's, there's
Yeah.
some things that have hit the mark, or some things that came out of nowhere. I have no idea. But my concern is, what is it going to do to the human body?
Yeah.
To our internal ecosystems.
Definitely.
What's that going to do? Yeah, so the world might be beautiful, but as human individuals,
are we like an empty shell?
Are we going to be like an empty shell? Like,
yeah.
Who knows? I think with all technology, there will be positives and negatives.
Definitely.
And
that is our world. Our world is polarity.
Totally.
Yeah. So going to the physical body, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you like to work with your physical body and even others, because I know that obviously we mentioned the Kahuna at the start, and you've just recently finished another level of training, which sounded so epic. And I'm totally into body work and working on the body, not just in a physical way, but in a spiritual, emotional, causal, all of those sorts of ways. And I feel like Kahuna really has the epitome of that as a massage therapy, especially. Completely. But I'm probably not even doing it justice, what I'm saying.
No, you are. Yeah, to agree. Like, I mean, like I said to you earlier, like, I just thought Kahuna was going to be this beautiful, flowy, fluffy massage. It's like I call it the hug of the massage world. That's what I said before I did level 4 and 5. And now I was like, whoa, it's a really, really deep transformative body work if people are prepared to open up to it.
Yeah.
And I don't think body work's going to translate very well into VR, but you never know. No. Haptic feedback suits might be next level.
Know. But something that that you go get body work and you're like, oh, I really needed this. So I think there'll always be that need for that physicality, absolutely. Won't there?
Totally.
Until we are just sitting here as souls.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then that's a completely different experience then, isn't it?
But I believe that we're here in a human body for a reason.
Totally. We're here to feel. Yeah. Totally.
Exactly.
So we have our 5 senses.
Exactly.
So, do you want me to give you a bit of a backstory on the Kahuna?
Give me a backstory. Yeah. How did you get into Kahuna?
Kahuna had been popping up in my life for like 10 years.
Wow. So
the first time I ever became aware of it was when I was a groceries manager in a health food store as I was building up my granola business.
Yeah.
I was like working there and slowly dropping a day as the business grew. I'd drop another day. Anyway, that's another story. They had a pamphlet shelf, and one of the pamphlets there was for Meta's Institute, which was Kahuna bodywork, and it was kind of like, that felt like it was a boring green pamphlet, and I think I picked it up in 7 years working there. I picked it up once, looked at it and went, oh yeah, I wasn't really very woke back then, and everyone was talking about how amazing that they had a Kahuna therapist, like using one of the clinic rooms. They were talking about how amazing this therapist was. I thought she was quite a strange person. So anyway, I booked a massage with her, and I didn't connect with her at all. I didn't connect with the massage or anything. I was like, this is weird. I don't like it. I just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
I think with body work, the client has to be to some degree ready for it, or ready, because you can come at Kahuna and body work from a few different aspects. If it's a first world person is on your table, then you're not going to do all the fluffy flying and all the all the crystals, and you're probably not going to do it. They're just going to get in and do the actual body work.
Yeah.
So I was kind of that, and she was doing all this fluffy stuff, which I was like, what is this? I've been used to remedial and sports massage, and so it didn't land for me, which is really interesting. I told that story when I went to Kahuna. They're like, well, why did you come and do the course? And I'm like, well, there's more to the story.
It always is.
Always is. So there was that experience, and then when I first started the granola business, I was selling it at the markets. So I'd get up early in the morning, Saturday, West End markets. And my neighbor for 3 years at those markets was a Kahuna body therapist.
Just in your field without
it was still there, and I never got a massage from him. Like, it wasn't, because I had my first experience. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that again. And then many years later, I was in a relationship, and I'd had a massage table from a previous relationship that she bought a massage table for me because she kept wanting me to give her a massage. I'm like, I can't do it on the bed. Like, give me a proper table. It's hurting my back. So anyway, I pulled that old massage table out and started doing this massage. And I just recently, I think, completed 4 months of Tai Chi training.
Yeah.
So I learned the full Tai Chi set. So I kind of like applied that feeling of Tai Chi to this massage that I was doing. I was just making it up as I was going. And she said it was one of the best massages she ever had. I was like, I feel like it was maybe, that felt like I was channeling maybe Kahuna or Lummy, whatever. So I got online,
like
looked at some videos.
energy.
I'd never actually watched anyone do it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I had it received, but I hadn't watched anyone do it. So I got online and watched it. I'm like, holy shit. Like some of the things I was doing was fully channeling Kahuna.
Wow.
And so at the time I said, oh, I want to go and study Kahuna. My partner at the time was not very open-minded. And she goes, you just want to go and study Kahuna so you can massage beautiful naked women all day long. It's like, no, I'm sure I'm going to be massaging all types of people.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had so many arguments about it. So I'm not going to do it. So that relationship ended, moved to the Sunshine Coast. I went, finally, I'm going to do it. And I realized it was up in Kin. So the beautiful thing is I walked in that day, walked into the house, I guess the foyer of the school, and they had all their pamphlets there. And there was that pamphlet from 10 years ago. I'm like,
the exact same.
I didn't actually put two and two together. I didn't realize that's where I was going.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was for that exact place.
Exact place with Meta, who runs the institute, that she was on the pamphlet. And it just like all hit me. And then all these memories came back. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
The first few days of the first Kahuna I watched done by a level 7 practitioner who's been doing it for 5 years. She's one of the facilitators. I cried.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm exactly wanting to be. It was the most beautiful thing, the intention, the presence that you have when you're working on this body. And it's just, and I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's like, I just come right back to what I'm doing. And, learning 4 and 5 is you have to be even more present and more attentive. So you're constantly looking, like you might be massaging down the leg, but you're constantly scanning the body for different movements in their fingers, like how much pressure you should give and when you should pull back. And so all these little signs are coming up. And these are the things that I really learned in level 4 and 5. Also getting out of your ego, like you want to, you're a healer and you want to heal people and you want people to have a certain experience. And I've had to let that go. It's like some people just like they're going to have exactly the experience they need to have. And if they don't like it and they're not going to come back, that's not you.
No,
that's
they'll have exactly what they're meant to have. Yeah. And only if they're ready to heal will they be able to heal.
Exactly.
It's like they could go to you 100 times, but then on the 101st time they go to someone else and they have this mind-blowing experience and they're like, oh, this person healed me. It's like, no, probably all that, like you're getting them ready to that point, but it's only when they're ready can they say yes to it.
Totally.
It's like that. I totally get that with kinesiology too. It's like, it's a synergistic relationship. It's not just me doing the thing. It's like together we're doing this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of my learning. It's like, well, once again, it's the holding space. I realized, okay, I'm just holding space and I'm just doing some things for you to heal. That's all I'm doing.
I love it.
And that really landed for me, because the first massage I gave was to an ex-partner after coming back from 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to do all the stuff I'd learned. I wanted to do deep tissue. And like, I just realized, like, working on her body, it's like her body wasn't ready for that day. She couldn't handle anything deep. So I'm like, okay, we'll just do a normal massage and that's okay. And letting that go. But the experiences I had, like level 4 and 5 go much deeper. 5 particularly deals with the shamanic aspect, it's more the spiritual aspect of it. Level 6 follows that even more, where you do lots of toning and so we learned a lot about the elements and how to use the elements to work with the body. So like I was saying to you earlier, my experience like on the end of level 5 was like an exorcism almost. And so many people experienced that in the room that day. Like there was just even Meta, it's her institute, she was in tears at the end of it because of how open everybody was to fully release. And we're talking screaming, crying, coughing, burping, this like all this stuff, and you could feel it lifting off. I just felt like a completely different person at the end of that 2-week period.
I just find that, it's something you said earlier was like, only when people are ready to receive that thing will they be able to receive it. And how amazing that you had this collective of people that were all ready to receive at that same time and like up level themselves in different ways, or let's say like shed themselves in different ways. That's just so amazing. And that it really lights up my heart to hear things like that, because it's like, wow, these new different waves of like consciousness and awakening and clearing are constantly happening in different times.
Totally. And in different ways.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I've done a couple of plant ceremony experiences, and I've done a fair bit of breath work and kahuna and some in different processes. And, you know, you can do it. You don't need to go to a plant ceremony. You can do it naturally. Yeah. Like you can have these releases and with the different modalities that we have access to now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I so believe that. I mean, do a fast and you'll have that full psychedelic experience.
Well, that was the thing.
Because you were fasting.
We were fasting.
Yeah.
Like, so we did level 4 was like incredible, right? So we'd get there. I wanted to fast. I did a little bit of fasting. Like I was like, I need to get my body ready, but I had so much going on that I didn't really fully prepare myself. I didn't know what I was getting myself into at level 4 and 5. I'm like, oh, yeah, we'll work it out. So we were water fasting. I had to break my water fast early because we were doing deep belly work and they got into some stuff and it was so weird. I was lying there, everything was normal. And then Meta, who runs it all, she's the one who's been teaching thousands of people for the last 30 years. She puts her elbow into a particular spot on my tummy. And as soon as she hit that spot, my entire body broke out into sweat.
Wow.
Like instant, I just like straight out. And so I'd been fasting, you know, just water fasting, you know, for 2 days.
Sweating that
and
much.
I was like,
no.
I got off the table and I had to then give because it's been receiving. I was like, I can't, my whole body started shaking. Yeah. I was like, this is too much to process as well as water fasting. So I broke the fast with the grated apple, which was the most amazing life. But we still were kind of fasting. We're just doing juices and light salads or soups for the next, you know, for the next 2 weeks. Yeah. And you can just release so much more. Yeah.
There's so much more space.
Yeah.
So much more space. You know, I can totally resonate with that.
I know. You're a fast master.
Nick came and gave me a kahuna. Was it the last day of
It was your last day of your 30-day water.
21
days. Oh, sorry, 30.
Only 21.
Only 21. Sure. Like,
Nick came and gave.
I can do 5.
Yeah, Nick came and gave us, Alex and I, kahuna massage here on our 21st day of our most recent water fast, which was the last day of our water fast. And I don't know, what was that experience like for you energetically holding space for us? I'm really curious.
Well, I noticed a couple of interesting things actually. Like you were both incredibly flexible and I could sense there was no inflammation. So much
fluid.
Yeah, there's no inflammation in your body at all. Yeah. Like the way you were moving.
That's funny because we've been sitting like in the same position for ages. It was so good to feel like stretched out. I remember feeling that way. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
It was interesting, like seeing the detox coming through your skin. So massaging your skin is like all these like
I felt so sorry for you because I forgot that was one aspect of fasting is like your skin starts shedding, like you're like your skin's peeling, like drying and peeling off, and Nick's giving us like a full body massage and our skin's like rolling up in like piles like on the end. You're just like I was like, ew. All the dead skin coming off.
So I'd recommend if anyone's doing like water fast and wants a kahuna, like just exfoliate before you get your kahuna.
Oh my gosh. But it keeps going, like even the next 2 weeks afterwards I was still having that even after. It's not just like a one-off thing, it just keeps happening. It's hard to avoid, so just warn the person.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I felt really because I quite often will tap into the energy of the person of what they're going through. So I've experienced people when they've had coffee before. I was like, do not have a coffee before.
Even kinesiology, I'm like, don't have a coffee before you come in here.
Yeah, it's just because we pick up on it, right?
100%.
I can't fully drop in. I found it challenging, but your skin was very loose on your body, on both of your bodies. So that
especially Alex.
Especially Alex.
He's just like that anyway.
Yeah, so doing underbody stuff was like,
you're like oh,
I'm skin and grabbing. I'm like, oh, I just stop there, and it's like keep going. It's like, so that was a bit of a challenge, but it was so beautiful to work with. But I dropped in quite deeply and felt really, really calm and present. With both of you that day.
That was beautiful.
It was a really beautiful experience. I don't know how long ago was that now.
That would have been the 18th of June, around then. Yeah, that was the day that we broke fast. So it would have been the 17th of June.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's just after your birthday.
It's just after my birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely makes a difference for me. And something I want to learn as I move forward with body work is to not be so sensitive to the person,
Yeah.
or like just be very clear and set intentions like your stuff is your stuff, my stuff is my stuff. But we have like a connection and a disconnection aspect to Kahuna.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So I don't walk away with anybody's energy usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, just being really mindful, that I can take that on, because there has been times where I've done a Kahuna where I've just the 1.5 hour and I'm exhausted after it.
Yeah.
That could just be what's going on within me as well.
Definitely. It's all perfect in its own
It's all
way.
perfect and it's all learning.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely important when any sort of energy to not, I like to call it protecting yourself, but more like raising your energy up so high that you don't feel depleted if you were to give some of that energy away. Yeah.
That's really potent, because that's what we learned as well. It's like, that's why we went through what we went through in cleansing, because it's like we need to be, as body workers, we need to be looking after our bodies so that we can be the best body workers we can for the client on the table. Yeah. So if we're cloudy and heavy, then it's going to be really hard for us to hold that space and give them the best of what we can.
So what ways do you like to do that day to day?
So I've started training again.
Nice.
I've got a personal trainer. And the stuff she's doing with me now is quite different. We're not in the gym anymore.
Cool.
Just doing different movements. Anyway, so it felt like perfect for Kahuna, what she's doing with me now. So it's stretching and eating well and being mindful. So for me, I don't do a lot of Kahunas because I take about an hour before I do a massage where I'll stretch, I'll go outside, I'll ground, I'll sage and didge and drum myself and meditate and do all those things so that when that person arrives, I'm fully in that state, in that space. So there's some of the things we do. Okay.
Has any of that translated to how you prep for Liquid Lyrics?
Interesting. Oh, that's really interesting. I don't think so.
Interesting. So it's really that, you're such a Gemini. I see you such a Gemini. Like that, this is over here and this is over here. And like you were the linking factor. Yeah. But they don't really have a crossover.
Not really. Except for the holding space part.
And except for the fact that both is trying to connect you more to nature in a way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I want to bring in more spoken word into my Kahuna as well. Like that's what they were saying. And I don't know why I don't. It's like I have this block there to do spoken word, because it's like, I guess I came through wanting massages in complete silence. Besides the music, I didn't want the therapist to talk to me. I didn't want to have to talk to them. I just wanted to drop in. But with, doing the deeper work of Kahuna, like you really need to be communicating. And I've had some Kahuna therapists do a bit of spoken word, and it can be so powerful if you hit it at the right time, when you can see, and this is part of reading bodies as well. So I definitely want to integrate the two. And I was giving Kahuna massages away as first prizes.
Oh, true. So here's the links.
Here's the link, because I was like, oh shit, I forgot to bring granola for this one.
I would want the Kahuna.
And there's definitely a link with Kahuna and granola, because like granola, we actually massage the liquid into the dry ingredients.
True.
There's actually particular techniques which feel very Kahuna-y and flowy.
Wow.
And I had a Kahuna therapist help me a couple of weeks ago. And we make these sounds when we like sweep the body. It's like we go, or breathing. And she was cleaning the trays and she started doing it. I'm like, are you doing that on purpose? She didn't even realize she was doing it. It's so funny.
Well, it is. It's still you're like breathing life into it in a way,
Yeah.
There's still alive foods there, because most of your stuff's like embodies that. So that's really cool.
I just thought of something. One of the things that has actually helped, and it's probably like partly Didge, partly Kahuna, is breathing.
Yeah,
so when you're doing spoken word, or even just like settling your nerves, definitely the breathing comes into it for me. So when I was freestyling the other night, I had a lot of pauses and big deep breaths and letting whatever I was saying land, but also land for me and giving me that space and time to allow something else to flow through. So it does all connect in some way.
I love that. We always talk about breath or oxygen on this podcast in different ways. I just love it. I need to get a breathwork person on.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely. I know if
I'm feeling called to do more breathwork, so that makes sense as well.
For
myself.
For yourself, yeah. You're not a breathwork facilitator, are you?
No, I've done plenty of different styles of breath work of these,
Yeah.
but I'm not really, don't have like a, I mean, I do my breathing practices and pranayamas in the morning and stuff, but nothing crazy.
Nothing
let's
crazy.
say.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm going to ask you my questions.
Oh, you got questions?
Remember my little questions?
Yeah, your questions.
You've probably forgotten what they are at this point anyway.
And I can do a spoken word piece after that.
Oh, let's do it. I love it. Okay. So we've established what your sun sign is.
Oh.
What's your, which is Gemini.
Yeah.
But what's your moon and rising?
My moon is Sagittarius and
Yeah.
my rising is Leo.
Oh, where do you get this earthiness from? You do have an earthiness about you.
No.
But you're definitely, I can see the fire though.
Yeah, definitely the fire. Definitely got some fire there.
Do you know where your Venus is?
I don't. But I do know there is quite a lot of water and earth in the rest of my chart.
Yeah, maybe like your north node, south node sort of aspects as well.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
What's your human design?
I know one of my north or my south.
Yeah. Probably your north is probably what you know.
Capricorn.
Oh, me too.
Really?
Yeah. And so my south is in Cancer.
Right. Okay.
And I've got a lot of placements in Cancer.
Yeah. Okay.
Which talks a lot about like connecting with holding space and having that such an easeful thing to come through in this life. It makes sense.
I definitely have a lot of I've got 2 or 3 things in Cancer. 2 or 3 planets in Cancer somewhere.
Someone was on the weekend was telling me that when you have more than 3 like signs in a house, it's called a stellium. Have you heard of this?
No.
And this is just speaking my language. And when she was telling me this, I was like, yes, tell me more. And it's like when you have more than 3 placements in one house, then often that's like something you really need to overcome or you have trouble with, or like you could really embody some of the aspects of that house specifically. Yeah. So I'm diving into houses a bit more. I find that really hard to retain that information.
Me too.
My sister's
so
really
much.
good at it.
Yeah.
I do remember that houses 1 to 6 is usually more internal and houses 7 to 12 is more external, but 12 and 12 is like the collective.
Right. Okay.
So I kind of like can remember that. That's probably about it. What's do you know your human design?
Yeah. Manifesting generator.
Yeah. See it very easily.
Yeah.
What's your favorite fruit?
My favorite fruit. Oh, I said this last time, didn't I?
Yeah, I can't remember.
A perfectly ripe red flesh dragon fruit.
Oh, yes. When you get those floral notes in there.
No. It's like fairy floss almost sometimes.
Yeah.
Like the sweetness.
So good.
Floral notes are incredible.
I had some amazing fruit on the weekend. I did see some dragon fruit, but I didn't eat any because I was looking cans.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So much jackfruit.
Jackfruit's pretty. I do like a good custard apple too.
Oh, yes. Good custard apple's a good one. Have you tried soursop?
Yeah.
It's like the custard apple, but it's a bit spikier.
Yeah.
And it's like the lemonade version.
Oh, lemonade version. I'm sure I've tried it. I just don't remember it off the top of my head.
It's really good.
Yeah.
If you could return to one moment in your life and experience it again, where would you go?
One moment in my life and experience it again. Ooh. It's just, I mean, there's plenty of moments, but the one that's just popped into my head right now is the performance I did for what I spoke about earlier, the 2010 Poetry Slam state final.
In Sydney.
My daughter was there. No, this wasn't in Sydney.
Oh,
the one I did in Brisbane in the State Library of Queensland.
Yeah.
I just had so many people that loved me that. It was just such a vibe. And it was like one of those performances where I was fully embodied in it. I was in it every single word, every single action I did was that whole experience was
so present.
So present.
I love
so potent, so powerful. Yeah.
Present, potent, powerful.
Present, potent, and powerful.
The alliteration.
The triple P's, baby.
Forest or the ocean?
Oh, don't make me choose. Can't I have a forest near the ocean? Well, I live near the ocean, so I guess I'd have to say ocean.
Yeah, but with plenty of trees near the ocean.
Ideally, I would be living like literally on a forest that's
next
onto the ocean.
Yeah, I feel you. Me too.
Yeah. What
plant or flower or plant in any way do you work with the most?
Oh, lately, I guess I've been working a lot with frankincense.
Yeah, I love it. Why are you feeling so drawn to frankincense?
well, it's in some of the blends that I've like, so I've been doing like the charcoal briquettes with like the little blends,
Yeah,
and
little resins.
the resins and stuff. And there's some, it's like the frankincense she uses in that with the other herbs or flavors. Typical chef. Just works so well. And there's something, so frankincense like takes me back to my childhood and my mum, because she used to do the briquettes, and that was part of like the Greek Orthodox tradition.
Yeah.
Like they'd burn frankincense and like, just do all the blessings while throughout.
Yeah.
So when I smell that, it takes me back to those moments with my mum, when I was very little, and just watching her do her rituals and how beautiful it was, and those smells, take me back
so beautiful
to my connection with her.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like she's coming through you in a way. Hey?
Yeah.
What's your favorite crystal?
Citrine. I've got a massive, powerful citrine point that I put under my massage table. And it's,
Like, is it more smoky citrine or more orangey citrine?
Smoky, yellowy. Yeah. It's just incredible. I remember like, I bought it as an exchange for doing like a 1 hour feature performance poetry set in the back of a crystal shop in Brisbane. And so the tickets they sold, basically I just went, oh, keep that, I'll just take this. And I just called him. But I'd had a dream many, many months before that these angels came to me and said, you need to have this. And they showed me this citrine, but it was flat and like a bowl shape. I was like, well, that doesn't exist. But so you need to have this big chunk of citrine. So I've been looking everywhere for it. I was like, oh, okay, I'll find it one day. And there's this point just sang out to me. And it's like, it's pretty big. It's like, I don't know, maybe like 15 centimeters tall. Like it's a chunky one. And I brought it home, put it on my bedside table, didn't really think about it. Well, it was beautiful, put some light behind it. There's one day I'm sitting in the couch and just out of nowhere, it's like it spoke to me. Now, I'm not really into crystals or like.
They're so chatty.
They're so, well, I was like, I have not experienced that.
I have worked around them a lot though.
Pretty earthy and like, just kind of grounded and just don't really get to. But
when they talk to you, they just command your attention though.
It's just like, it literally just said to me, come and hold me. And so I just got up, like, didn't even know what I was doing. Got up, went, sat in my bed, picked it up and held it in my hands, and the whole thing, it felt like it was electricity, like you get electrocuted, you can't move, your body is stuck there. I held it and I was like literally like shaking, and I felt it in my entire body. I just put it down and went, I don't know what to do with that. That was an experience I hadn't had before.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, so anyway,
epic.
Long answer to a short question.
It. There's obviously I feel there's like a deep like past life connection for you there. So cool.
Yeah.
What's your spirit animal, or if you were an animal, what would you be?
Interesting. Well, because that's something we did actually in Kahuna level 4 and 5 is we embodied spirit animals.
But you don't have to share that on here if you don't want to.
No, that's okay, because we embody different animals.
Yeah, okay.
The one that I chose was a panther, and that's the one I embodied different animals, but the one Black Panther. Yeah. I realized at one point I forgot that it was supposed to be like massaging as our spirit animal, and I forgot that that's what we were doing. And then I realized halfway through I was moving on that body like a panther, and I wasn't even aware of it.
I love it.
Until like my mind kept going, oh, you're being the panther.
So cool.
Yeah.
What are you grateful for today?
I am grateful because I just had a beautiful weekend. I'm grateful for a life that allows me to be incredibly spontaneous and follow the magic wherever it shows up.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Spontaneous equals joy.
Totally.
You're saying that comparison.
The thief of joy?
Spontaneity is the key to joy.
The key to joy. Ooh.
In Chinese medicine.
Oh, that's two tattoos now.
I love it. Oh, there you go. So cool.
Yeah.
Would you like to share?
Sure. How about I share my latest one?
I'd love that.
It's the most recent. I write a lot about relationships and love and breakups and all that sort of stuff. So this one here is about a recent transition from a lovership into a friendship.
Yeah.
We both see the value in this goodbye. Situations like this normally cost us twice the price. When I see you later, it will be with fresh eyes and new perspectives. So we take the best bits and brew them into a serenity. Wrap our cold hands around handmade mugs that warm our hearts with an expression of love that holds true. I don't belong to you or you to me. Yet we both belong to this family home. Gold support beams hold up the high ceilings of our sovereignty. We break up and we break down so we can break in and break out of our own conditioned ideas of what we think it should look like. Looked so right on paper, so we neatly folded it into a paper plane and took turns to see how far we could make it fly. Glided for a while, but a few too many nosedives affected the aerodynamics, and no matter how much we tried to straighten it, it just wouldn't fly like it used to. Looked for answers in the stars, but they were drowned out by the Cancer full moon in Gemini. We manifested each other, generated tenderness, only to find that our human design meant that we simply weren't aligned. Lessons in love are never a waste of time if we can find the space to study them in detail. So we traverse into new waters with the summer winds filling our sails, a deep knowing that love always prevails and the world is what we make it. No time to be complacent, no time to be chasing our tails or to fake it till we make it, so we make it till we wake it. Feel the mirror of old patterns breaking. Let's face it, the reflection is a perversion of the truth anyway. I'm not in love with you. I love you. And that rings true like a Tibetan singing bowl vibrating long after the shiny bells of honeymoon nights have rusted into silence. Long after the fragrance of spring flowers have faded and all that can be smelt is the ever-expanding rose in the center of our self-love spiral. There will be waves of emotion that will come and go. Some will be titles, so let us be mindful of the undertow trying to sweep us into depths of despair. Taking care of our own garden is imperative, so we live and let live, love and let love. Find the wonder in it all as we heed the true calling of our soul's purpose. Thank you.
That was amazing. Wow. I felt so many different emotions in that one.
Yeah. Oh.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
My absolute pleasure.
Such a blessing.
Thank
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me, Kristin. It's been fun.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, I think it was as good, if not better than
I
the
think it was
last one.
better.
I think it was better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And if people want to get in touch with you, they want to work with you or learn about Liquid Lyrics, what's the best way to get in touch with you online? Or
so you can follow Liquid Lyrics page online and you'll get all the event information come through there. But most of it is just add me as a friend or contact me through Facebook, Nick Grivas. That's probably the best way.
Perfect.
Send me a message through Messenger.
I'll add it all in the notes for them too.
Yeah, and I always respond to people. I have lots of people contacting me that I don't know, asking me about Liquid Lyrics or as far as Ka Huna goes, I'm based in Coolum, Sunny Coast area. So if anybody wants to, and I do a lot of sound healing through that as well. So I bring the didge and the medicine drum and a few other little instruments. And
And we established that your granola's in the sauce.
The granola's in the sauce, yeah.
I love it. Any last words?
Stay true and step into your vulnerability as much as you possibly can. That's where the true power comes from.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.